All right, hello and welcome. How's everyone doing on what is, I hope, a fantastic Tuesday? Tuesday, August the 6th, day before my sister's birthday, actually. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. It's been kind of a week so far.
Yeah,
Had
you
oral,
had your dental stuff and
yeah, I had oral surgery yesterday. How fun!
oh, yeah, who doesn't love like root canals and or I know it wasn't root canal, but still, I mean, that sort of thing in general, like it's
Tooth
nonstop fun.
extraction. But I've been
I
rested today, so
oh, you got some rest? That's good.
yeah. How are you, Matthew?
I am here. I had a crazy weekend, so
Oh,
I'm doing this job where we can only work weekends right now because they're doing production stuff during the week. So Saturday, Sunday, they shut down the system. We can go in there, swap out stuff. Uh, it did not go well this weekend.
uh-oh.
Yeah, so we we plan for 12-hour workdays on the weekend. And
Wow.
that's okay. I mean, it's busy, but like it's acceptable, um, because we're not doing a lot of work in the week. I do a little prep work to make sure things are going to go well, and then do most of my hours on the weekend. No worries. So I get there, and they do not have any of the stuff ready for me at all, and we have a hard start or stop. Excuse me, a hard stop. 3 a.m. Monday morning. Everything needs to be done. Like, get out of here. So I do not get to do really any of my stuff until 7:30 Sunday night.
Wow.
Yeah, so when we set up the work, I said, "Hey, I can do this work. It's going to take me 2 days. Two 12-hour long days to get all this work done." And then 7:30 rolls around and like, "Okay, Matt, we're finally ready for you." And, sure enough, I did not get it done by the time they wanted to get done. Thankfully, my boss, he had been on vacation. He got back and came out to my side of the Metroplex, which I'm sure is like an hour, at least an hour drive for him to get to my area where this was. And uh, he gets there at, I think, 1 in the morning. And we work until 6:30 and barely get it set up where they can turn it on. And then like, well, there's these three workstations. I got one of them wired up. They go, when are you going to complete the other three? I said, not today. I have been here for 24 hours at this point. I'm going home. I'm going to sleep. The question becomes, when are you going to give me the time later on this week to get this done? And they're like, well, I don't know. Like, it needs to be done, but we can't shut down the system. And so we're just mad at you. I'm like, well, guys, like,
Well, yeah.
like, what are you gonna do here? Are you gonna like? I'm like, all I need is sleep. You let me get some sleep. I'll come back out here this afternoon, but you got to give me some downtime. And they're like, well, we can't give you downtime, but you got to get it done. I'm like, you got to do one or the other. Either you got to be okay, give me like it not being done for a week and let me do it on Saturday, or you got to give me a downtime window where I can come out here and get the work done. So sure enough, I got I finally got a couple windows. The first window I got out there and they didn't shut down. It was a waste of my time almost. I got something done on the side, and then I came out there again 4 hours later in the evening on yesterday evening. So even if you hadn't had some dental work done, I would have been at the job site. So I mean it was crazy. I got it wired up. It's all working as of this morning because they didn't let me test it last night. They're like, we'll let you wire it, but you can't test it. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Ugh,
You guys are nuts to do it this way. But I hate doing something and then not testing it because I'm like, if something goes wrong, like, what are you guys gonna do?
right. Your volume lowered a little bit, Matthew.
Oh, did it? That's I may have
Yeah.
backed up a little. I'm inconsistent with my seating placement.
And Josh Tree said that you froze. You did freeze for about 3 or 4 seconds.
Weird. Very weird.
I could still hear you. Your video just froze.
Uh, okay, well, hopefully it's good now. I mean, the good news is thanks to my boss coming out there, we got the work done, and I'm extremely thankful that he was willing to come out there and help me out. Because otherwise, it's like it was so weird. Because I spent the whole weekend being a good sport. I helped people pull wires. It was my responsibility. I helped fix other people's mistakes. And then it was time to do my work, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we're not touching this. We're not doing anything. We're just gonna sit here on the side, but we're gonna complain at you for not being done." And I'm like, guys, come on, help me out a little bit. So I'm glad that we're here now. I'm glad that we are going to watch what is The Quality of Mercy.
Indeed.
And so I think that after last week, where I almost nailed the plot of the episode, I'm pretty sure I'm going to completely whiff on this week's guess that I made last week. And Omni wants to know, did I cut wires? Yes, I did. But there were wires that needed to be cut. Like we're specifically getting those wires out and putting new ones down in a different spot.
So you cut the right wires.
Yeah, I did cut the right wires, and I cut them at the right time even. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's important too, I suppose.
So I was joking with Amy. I'm like, Tuesday is quickly becoming our streaming night, which hopefully we can get back to a Monday. I much prefer Mondays.
I do as well.
Yeah.
Actually, so Monday's off, so.
Oh, good. Yeah, we hopefully next week we can get back into a Monday rhythm. You had the hour of longing. Yeah, we're at the hour of longing that we were at the hour of scampering instead. But hopefully we'll all be back to normal next week. This weekend, back out there doing some more work for them. Hopefully it won't be as rough as it was this weekend. Because this past weekend, we had to get everything done. Otherwise the system wouldn't work. Next weekend, they're installing some new stuff. So if the new stuff isn't up and running by the end of the night, it's not going to bother. It'll be inconvenient because they want it running, but it's not going to get in the way of its normal operation. So, yeah, Omni, I actually had to do a lot of networking stuff. We're pulling network cables. So the stuff I do professionally is control work. So it's more 24-volt control signals back and forth, some analog stuff. But even as part of that, I sometimes do networking as well. Except I don't do white, blue, green. I do white, green, blue. But hey, good job remembering it.
As long as it works, I suppose. That's what counts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as long as you do the same wiring on both ends, you will get some data going through. It's just you're supposed to use pairs to prevent jargon, data throughput, mutual destruction, source interference things, yada yada. Yeah, exactly. Thomas, even I know it's I don't need to get too deep in the weeds on why you want to use twisted pair. It's fascinating stuff, but only to people who are interested in that. Which is, I mean, I guess that's true for almost anything. If you're not interested in a subject, it's not going to be fascinating. But there's some subjects I feel have a universal appeal. Hey, if you're talking about this, almost anyone would go, okay, yeah, that was a little interesting. But networking stuff, it's oh, hey, did you know the reason you do white, blue, green, or white, green, blue is because the old telephone systems. Everyone's like, no, I don't care. And I don't blame you. Yeah, don't cross the streams.
Very important.
not unless you're up against Gozer, and then you gotta cross the streams.
Yeah,
Thomas
that was a
doesn't.
huge risk.
It was. Thomas says he doesn't understand anything you're saying. Then let's start talking about things you understand. Let's talk about the quality of mercy and what my prediction for it was. So last week, I made the prediction that this was going to be a Dr. Franklin episode. That specifically, my reasoning here is it's been a while since we've seen Dr. Franklin. And I know that for this season, everyone kind of had a certain number of episodes they were contracted for. So we kind of have a rolling cast situation. You know, every episode has Sinclair, main character. I think every episode has had Garibaldi in it. Yeah?
And Susan Ivanova.
And Ivanova. Okay, yeah. And besides those three main characters, we roll through them. So I'm thinking it's been a while. We're going to focus on Dr. Franklin. And I think it's going to be, or I predict it's going to be, asking the question, what is mercy? And at what point does mercy become unmerciful? Or at what point does compassion become uncompassionate? And what I'm thinking here is that around the time of Babylon 5 first season, there's a big question about assisted suicide, which, I mean, there goes the stream on YouTube's opinion, but assisted suicide in the United States. For old people who are in a comatose state, or, this quality of life isn't there anymore, is it morally acceptable to assist them with the end of their life? And I think that was what this episode was going to be about. That he's going to have a case where his Hippocratic oath is in direct conflict with what he knows is true mercy for this individual. And of course, there's other sci-fi shows that explore this concept, such as the episode where Worf's spine is injured, and he asks Riker to give him an honorable death. And of course, Riker doesn't. And it was a great moment where, to a large degree, yes, Riker was speaking for the audience, or at least for the author of the episode, the writer of the episode, I suspect. But at the same time, I might be misremembering, but I feel like Riker's main argument in that moment was not that I reject your beliefs on this, but rather that while that's your culture, I am not in your culture, and I reject doing this because it goes against the beliefs of my culture. And so it's definitely one of those well-written moments where both sides were presented, and a strong case was made for not assisting Worf in his departure. But at the same time, like, it didn't go so far as to outright condemn anyone who had that viewpoint, which I that's something I always appreciate about old Trek.
Yeah, you sure don't get that in modern Trek.
Yeah, very, very rarely in old Trek do you have this is it, here's the line, I'm just going to lay it all out there. Anyone who disagrees with me is wrong. I think one of those rare moments was let that be the last battlefield, I want to say.
Actually, I think that one presented both sides very well.
Am I thinking the wrong one? Well, that was the one with
the two that had the color split. Is that the one you're talking about? The black on one side, the white on the other side, but it was reversed for the other one.
Yes,
white was on.
Yeah, I thought
that presented both sides pretty well. I thought.
I guess my main takeaway was the writer was saying how both of them were incorrect, and that they refused peace, that they were both equally to be condemned, not because their position was wrong, but because their position was being held to so ardently that they couldn't see the other position anymore.
Well, that's true too, but both of their sides are presented as well, is what I was getting at.
True. And then what was the other one? The one with the being of energy and anti-energy, or matter, and then it ended with her saying something like, "That's all they have left now, their hate." Um,
Yeah, that was from the first season. Lazarus was the
yeah,
character, and I can't remember the title offhand. We
but
just talked
that
about
was.
that the other night, but
Did you really?
yeah, I think we talked about it on Jeopardy.
Oh,
And
but
Omni's going, ugh,
what?
alternative factor, yuck,
That's
he
what it is.
says.
Yeah. Okay. So my point is they do make a strong uh, statement of belief in that episode, in that the condemnable thing, again, not out of their position per se, but the fact that um, they allowed their position to go to such an extreme for both of them that all they had left was their hate. Um, but usually in classic Trek, there wouldn't be grandstanding like that. There would just be, yeah. But what of Lazarus? Lazarus.
What if Lazarus' beard?
Let's Trek talk, more B5 talk. Okay. So that was my logic. That was my reasoning behind why I think this is going to be a Dr. Franklin episode. So let's go ahead and jump into this and let us see how absolutely wrong I am in my predictions. So I will pin real quick the link to our stream room. And as always, let me highly recommend that you come join us over here. This will let us all sync up our watch time together so that whenever we're commenting on something, you're seeing what's on screen at that moment. If you're in the future, sorry, you don't get to watch it in my screening room. You need to go out and get your own copy. Best way of doing it, go to Amazon, buy the Blu-rays. They are wonderfully done. But get your own DVD cases, or what do you even call them anymore? Media cases?
Cases, DVD.
Get your own cases.
Blu-ray cases, yeah.
The case, lackluster. The content, spectacular.
Horrible. Case is horrible.
Yeah. If you don't want to buy them outright, you can go to Tubi TV, watch it free with ads. If you want it all digital stuff, it's available. You can buy it on Amazon, you can buy it on Google, you can buy it on iTunes, you can buy it on whatever digital service you like. It's out there for purchase.
Omni says Laserdisc available on eBay, better quality.
Okay, are there really Babylon 5 Laserdiscs?
Yes.
See, okay, we may have talked about this in the past. That's a technology I've always been a little jealous of. Being able to have the laser disc. I bet they're expensive as anything. Let's get this going, and we will. I'm gonna look that up on eBay while we get, probably during the intro. If you're on a phone or something, you're not able to have two screens up, don't worry, we got you covered. I will go ahead and bring in the clips, and once every 7-ish, 10 seconds, there will be a still image below. There should be no audio, which, looking at my mixer real quick, just to confirm, should be no audio tonight. Because that will just give you a reference so that ideally you're like, oh yeah, this is the moment that happens this thing, and I know what they're talking about. So I'll give you a quick 3 count down, and then we'll hit the play button and kick this off. So here we go. We can sync this all up. 3, 2, 1. Hit that play button, everyone. Text is saying, oh, Professor, at some point you need to check the first episode of season 4 and make sure the one on your platform has the pre-credits teaser. We'll have to see, because the digital Amazon ones is what I got, and they are sometimes missing things. Now the immediate appearance of Londo is really giving me really giving me confidence that I missed it for my prediction. Okay, so last week, Delin went off on a excursion to the Grey Council, where she staunchly opposed the decision to join back up with the Grey Council. She said, "No, my place is here." And
Take the leadership of the council is what she opposed.
yeah, and so she said, "No, I'm not going to take leadership," and was actually ready to step down, wasn't she?
No, she didn't want to step down. She just didn't want to give up her position on Babylon 5. She felt she had uh, a legacy that she needed to fulfill. And they decided, you know, they'll have to figure out if she will remain on the council or not. They'll have to look at their positions.
Oh no. Okay, so Londo is saying that he's gonna fill in the gaps of Veneer's education. That he's learned a lot through reading, he says, and Londo's saying that's no way to live. You just need to trust me, my dear friend.
And Omni wants to know, who's Delenn?
Oh, she was on last week. She's one of the Gray Council people. Okay, this guy is that Jim Norton?
Yes. We've seen him before.
He is a somewhat famous actor, is he not? Like, he's done a ton of stuff.
I don't know how famous he is, but he was on Star Trek as Einstein.
Huh. I always forget that. To no one's surprise.
Yeah. We just take it in stride.
I swear Jim Norton, like I saw a picture of him. I swear I don't know, I swear I've seen him in like just all over the place. He's one of those people that just he's in all these different series and stuff. Whoops, I covered up your face.
That might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I know. Matthew forgot something. Let me sit down. So let me look up the Babylon 5. I wrote Baby 5. Let's try that again. Babylon 5. Laser discs. Okay, Babylon 5. Laserdisc, season 5, episode 5. So it's like a 1 episode a disc thing. And it is $16. I mean, that's not too bad, but.
Well, for one episode, it could be, but.
There's 2, I'm mistaken. So, like, this is The War Prayer and Sky Full of Stars, Laserdisc. Each one about $15. So $7.50 an episode. Getting on Laserdiscs. That's an investment.
Yeah.
Jeff had a mouse on his head. Sorry about that. Right there. It's supposed to capture window, not the entire monitor. That's a bit of a dingy doctor's office. Is this Franklin?
That is.
Did Franklin get in trouble last time we saw him?
No.
Maybe I'm not wrong. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so the main issue they're discussing right now is she's saying that this is an unauthorized clinic or almost illegal clinic, and he's saying no, this is a free clinic, and apparently they're saying that's the same thing in this case. And the the concern here is that this is a taxpayer-funded station, and they expect a certain quality in the doctor's office. Like, what? What? I'm not quite following the logic here. If this is a, even if they're saying this is government funded,
yeah, he's using government funded supplies and equipment for this free clinic that normally people would be paying to have, be used in MedLab.
meanwhile, with the C plot, there is a person convicted of murder that Garibaldi is understandably upset with. Fire Franklin? I will not. But so my kind of confusion about that plot isn't that he is using the government funded material in a unauthorized facility, but that the government funded clinic is also a for-profit clinic.
No, it's a free clinic that he's running downtown, as Omnicast says, down below.
I mean, his usual clinic is for-profit,
yes,
but it's also government funded.
Well, like, you could say our doctor's offices are government funded in a way.
Which ones?
All of them. It's all done through the insurance companies. And
oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
The government has their hands all over that.
True. But that's not the same level as government funded as what Ivanova just described Babylon 5 as being.
That's true.
Like, I would think he'd be able to run a free clinic hours or something in the med lab. I don't know. Like, if they'd come in saying that Babylon 5 is funded through corporations and they expect to see, yada, yada, blah, 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 I would totally accept that. I'd be like, yeah, corporations aren't going to let you run a free clinic. But it being funded by the governments, I don't know, I'll have to think more about that. I bet that's her. Franklin's looking for some lady named Laura.
Rosin.
Laura Rosin. And that she is something between a quack faith healer and a doctor. Okay, this lady, June Lockhart, I think.
Yes.
She was not in Star Trek, but was one of the main characters in Lost in Space.
Yes. The mother.
Yeah, Danger, Marine. Morrison Robinson. Marine. So I'm curious why he's going to be calling her Faith Healer. So this is why he's calling her a Faith Healer quack sort of thing. She doesn't understand what this alien equipment is, but somehow it's able to do these miraculous healings. Everything from setting a bone to curing the common cold. Thomas, she was Will Robinson. I'm pretty sure that's false.
Now, of course, Bill Mumy, who plays Lanier, was Will Robinson in the show.
What?
And yeah,
No.
yeah, you didn't realize that?
No.
Now, Lanier, of course,
No.
we've already,
I believe you,
yeah,
but I'm going to keep saying no for a minute. No.
now we saw Lanier already in this episode. Bill Mumy desperately wanted to have a scene with June Lockhart,
Oh my
and
goodness.
JMS just said, no, we're not doing a mini Lost in Space reunion.
Oh my goodness. That is nuts. Oh, that's sad. He should have allowed. I mean, not a big scene, but just like some sort of moment, just a little nod and a wink to the fans, you know.
Yes, Josh Street, it is a device that takes the life force of one and gives it to another.
Okay, so they are pulling a Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know if you ever played that Star Wars game.
No, I haven't.
Fantastic Star Wars game, RPG based game. But they are going to wipe his mind and then give him an entirely new personality with new memories. Uh, which is interesting. It really makes you wonder, is that giving someone a capital punishment? Like it's not killing the body, but it is killing the mind.
Killing the personality. Yeah.
Yeah, Texas. I'm not gonna spoil it because I mean, even though it's an old game, it's one of those games where you don't want to see the ending coming. But it is fantastic. I guess I spoiled a little bit, but don't think too hard about what I said a minute ago. But yeah, if they had done something where like say Lanier is trying to live in the moment, and this isn't, bring the plot lines together. He's trying to live in the moment because Londo's taking him under his wing, and he might makes a quick getaway from Londo, can't really find out where he is, bumps into to June Lockhart's character, and she's like, "Hey, can I help you?" And he says, "I'm like, I'm just lost in this place." Just a little quick wink, nod, and she's like, "Well, that sounds like you're in some danger there, son." Uh, and then move on with the episode. But to be fair, I'm a sucker for those kind of moments. So Londo, in typical Londo fashion, has decided that the best way to really educate Lanier is to bring him to an adult club. Oh, and when do you know it, he left his credit chip behind.
Of course he did.
He said, "I did, but my allowance is very small." So I don't think DeLynn would approve of this, I think is where he was going. But then something fell and he has recanted of that position quite clearly. Speechless might be a word one uses. Lanier, there isn't alcohol in this, is there? Oh, because his people does not react well to alcohol. They get psychotic impulses and go to homicidal rage. Londo quickly changes his mind on that one.
He'll take
I
his
like
drink.
I like how he was ready for Lanier to be like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be drunk, no problem." But when he heard about the homicidal rage, he nope, no, nope, not even I'm that dumb.
I love how Lanier's just bowing to everybody.
Yeah, at least Londo has 2 drinks now. Win-win.
Right?
So Mrs. Lockhart's character was originally a doctor, a real doctor. And so Franklin can't figure out why she's kind of going down this evil, quack, pseudoscience, faith healing route. But I mean, is it really fair to call her a faith healer? She's clearly using science. It's just science she doesn't at all understand. Like, she doesn't know what this device is doing other than it cures people. Yeah, stim pack. So apparently she made a mistake about 3 years ago, and she hasn't been able to come back from that. And she's hoping that this device that she's found now is going to be the thing that can get her back to kind of her old lifestyle, or to grant her an absolution. So, so she's staying on the station, thinking she can't get back to Earth with the device. But Franklin somehow got access to her bank records and knows she could totally buy 2 tickets home.
Yeah, it's a good question. How did he do that? How did he find that out?
She wants to go back and bring her, her family robot and weird guy home. A little bit. Family, yeah. Robot, sorta, yeah. Haven't seen a dog yet. Didn't say a dog. Weird guy. Haven't seen a weird guy yet. Londo is quite bored with Lanier's subject of choice. So, that's fascinating. Amazing. Looks at the waitress. Kill me. So Lanier is able to calculate the odds of anything happening, and so clearly Lana clearly is thinking about going to a casino. I
That's a
want
good
to
point, Texas.
introduce you to the
Garibaldi found that
ultimate
out.
means of interstellar understanding: poker.
Well, Lanier is very good with probabilities.
And yes, Texas. That would make sense. Garibaldi finding it when looking into the questionable operation. Not
Put him on
polka,
the
poker.
Oh,
Oh, she's the one doing the mind wipe.
yep. Well, she's going into his mind.
He has a familiar face.
Yeah, he's been in Star Trek a few times. He was in Eye of the Beholder and TNG, Walter Pierce. And then he played a couple of characters on Enterprise.
Did he ever? Is that what I'm thinking of, Josh? The guy that took Wesley with him, the Wanderer.
No, the
Did he
Traveler
ever?
is who you're talking about.
Did we ever see him with his usual face, like without prosthetics and makeup?
Yeah, I think we
No.
did. And in the final episode that Wesley was in on TNG.
So I meant the bad guy here.
Yeah.
And yeah, Omni, the Traveler, not the
Oh,
Wanderer.
but yeah, Thomas is right. He was a human in Eye of the Beholder on TNG.
What was Eye of the Beholder about?
Or was he human or Betazoid?
So they thought he had just killed two people, and he's letting them know that he's a full on sociopath. Like he's a mass murderer. That or he's able to um like show her false memories.
That's Eye of the Beholder is the one where Troy investigates the death, the suicide of a crewman. It was in season 7.
And they were laughing. That was the it was by the like warp manifold or something.
Right.
Mostly human with a bit of betazoid. Okay. I so what was Franklin just saying that?
Saying what?
The patients were what? He was looking at his medical history. Did we hear him say that they're better off or? And Lanier is uh, saying the odds of every hand he picks up. So I guess his concern was that he was seeing someone that had previously gone to uh, Miss Lockhart's doctor,
Rosen, Dr. Rosen.
Rosen, Laura. But she's tired. I wonder if something about it takes transfers energy from one being to another. That's what I was about to say. I bet it takes her life to heal other people. And she's saying it was designed as a means of corporal punishment, where they had their life energy removed and given to other people. You're saying it doesn't have to be used at full power. It can be used as a power good, but it still kills you. Like it just does it slowly if you do it at low power. So that is an interesting contrast to the main plot line or the secondary plot line of the mass murderer,
Yes.
where is it compassionate to essentially kill someone without technically stopping the body's functions? Is that true compassion? Is that true mercy, as the episode would call it? And now with her, is she really doing acts of mercy for people if it's costing her own life? If she's shaving away her own lifespan?
She felt she isn't going to live much longer anyway.
And she's saying that when she dies, she will give this device to Dr. Franklin, provided he doesn't tell her daughter about any of this. And they agree. He says, but adding to that, you need to uh, I get to veto you. If ever I feel like you're pushing yourself too hard, too fast, um, I'm gonna stop you. And then he calls her doctor on the way out, and she's overwhelmed with acceptance. Right, Omni? I'd love to buy you dinner sometime. Oh my. Like that's I I give him credit for putting himself out there like that, but read the room, man. You spend a long time insulting her mom. Like give it a week or two before you try to pick her up. So the point of the scan that she just did was to have a baseline for who he is in his own mind, so that after the mind wipe, she can look and make sure that he's truly his personality's truly been killed.
Omni's right. These two actors, they were actually married for a short time.
Who Garibaldi
They're,
and
oh yeah,
oh yeah.
they're the actors themselves. They marry each other.
Hmm.
They're dating at this point.
Josh, is this how I picked up Amy? No, no. Amy technically picked me up.
I can't wait to see your reaction to this, Matthew.
What? He has a tentacle?
More or less.
What? Either he has a tentacle or he has a companion hiding in his shirt. So interestingly, anyone who could do predictions that good uh, would not be allowed for long in a casino. Like
No.
if you ever look up card counting, casinos come down hard on people for they suspect of counting cards. Yeah, how many great security, Garibaldi. And that's true. I mean, you don't cuff in front. You always put it behind. Otherwise, they basically have a heavy weapon attached to their arms. Okay, so it it is part of him apparently because he's getting quite cold right now. But and Lanier knows karate.
Or at least the Mimbari equivalent.
But hey, it's really gonna broaden Lanier's perspective. Bone fu. I think that would involve more headbutting for the Mimbari. Ooh. An alien device that transfers life force from one person to another, huh? A doctor who's at the end of her life and an escaped convict. Who's more deserving to live?
Hmm.
Would if if the convict's life was given to her, would she feel cheated? Like would she feel as if perhaps someone betrayed her um her morals?
Well, he found her.
I know she's not, but she looks a lot like the actress who plays Murder She Wrote. Something something Lensbury.
Hmm. I never made the connection before.
I mean, she probably
Probably
only looks
because I
similar to me, but
know her
I
so
know
well as Maureen Robinson from Lost in Space.
Angela Lansbury. That's what it was. Oh, it goes in reverse. I would have thought it would have been a one way street. security measure. Make sure you can't transfer. Or is she still technically transferring to him? She's just increased the level, so he's getting the good with the bad.
Apparently, a device can do multiple things.
Hmm.
She gave him what she has.
And Angela Lansbury is still alive at 99. That's awesome.
I think he might be talking about June Lockhart.
Oh. Oh? Oh, okay. So she's found innocent, acting in self-defense. But yeah, she is absolutely conflicted. She's free of pain, she's free of disease, but it came at the cost of her of someone else's life, and so she feels she wonders about the morality of what she did. She agrees that it was the right thing, but she doesn't know if it was the correct thing. And yes, Trevor Lauren,
And you,
the court jester is fantastic. So they had her arrest 30 humans and 2 aliens in a bar fight. The aliens refused to identify themselves, but they figured it out. He said, I'll give you a satisfactory explanation as soon as the room stops spinning. And Sinclair points out Babylon 5 generates gravity by spinning. Well, you see my predicament. I have so many questions about what Londo has. I like that look. Sinclair's like, I know you're not being truthful, but you know what? It's fine. We're okay with this. So apparently in Bari culture, it uh, is admirable to save face for a friend. Yes, I want to know this. A part of him reached out for the cards. What was that? He's looking around. It's taking a long time to explain.
We saw this in a Parliament of Dreams.
And he's pointing out that he's pointing out, do you think that these things on this statue are just decorations? This goddess of passion? And Lanier goes, I will take a silence of vow about this conversation. Um, so I don't know. It's implied that it's something a little dirty, but at the same time, they appear to be appendages that she's in full control of. That both of them have, both men and women have. That seems more like an
Well,
arm than an organ of that sort.
the goddess has both parts.
Uh,
And as Omni says, there are six, you see.
and a while back, Tex was saying that Angela Lansbury died about 2 years ago. Which is just, I mean, she was quite old, but she was another one of those people who they just did so much acting in their life. She was in the Pirates of the Penzance. She was Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. She was in the Court Jester. She did a lot. And is it Thomas? Is it his eggplant emoji?
That's heavily implied, yes.
Let's see. And Tex is saying that if you think back to Born to Purple, Adira was originally supposed to have 6 slits on her back, but they decided against showing that. Ah.
That's interesting, Texas. I had not heard that bit before.
Oh, I see. Huh. Well, I mean, it fits their culture. It fits how they betrayed that race.
I'm actually quite surprised that they got that past the censors.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the shape people would assume, but I guess there's enough they knew there would be enough people like me out there who's like, well, I mean, surely it's not that. But surely it was.
It is.
Well, what do you think, Jeff?
This was a serviceable episode. I like how they were switched between the 3 different plots in this story. They transitioned between them very smoothly, and they actually brought 2 of them together toward the end. And so for that, it was pretty good. Now this episode may not seem that important, but there is importance to it that we'll see later. And that's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, Thomas. The Londo's reaction to the cold water and how he whispers to Linear. Yeah.
And at the beginning of the episode, you saw Londo reach down and say, "Touch this." He was pointing toward his appendages.
Ah. All right then. Yep. that sentence became a lot more vulgar now that I made you made the connection there for me.
His attributes, as Omni says.
Oh, also, looking over at my feed here, apparently just before we started, Anonymous sent a donation saying, "Keep up the great work, Zathras and Professor." Thank you, Anonymous. Yeah, Matthew's too much of Flanders. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that does seem
hold
accurate,
there, Neighborino. You know, they almost even tied in that last plot line there, Jeff, simply by having Garibaldi go from the trial into the elevator and have his reaction. It was a bit of a natural segue as opposed to just like, hey, here's two completely different things going on. The end.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good episode. As always, Londo continues to just be one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, gotta love Londo.
He brings in just this levity. You know, Alfred Hitchcock had this theory about how to do horror. And he said one of the most important aspects of horror is that you give your audience a moment to breathe. And he was talking specifically about his movie Birds and how if it had just been nonstop, you know, them being attacked by birds, them being chased nonstop, no reprieve, you hit this like emotional max level you can have, and you get exhausted there, and then you become desensitized to the horror of the situation. And so he strategically placed a moment in a bar, I think it was, or a restaurant or something, where everyone got to breathe. The characters sat down, they had a smoke, they learned a little about each other, and then action kicked off again. Londo's serving the same kind of function in these heavy episodes, where we're looking at this guy who is facing murder, or is a mass murderer who is facing execution effectively. And you get these moments where Talia, she's seeing how many people he killed, and he's just completely glib about it. He's like, yeah, it's just one more voice for the orchestra of screams. Totally psychopath here, guy. And then you go from that to, here's this lighthearted moment where Londo is using one of his organs to cheat at poker. And you get this moment where like, okay, that was heavy. Here's something that's light, but at the same time, it is not so jarring and out there. They did a good enough job setting up the premise of Londo playing Lanier. Like the whole premise between Londo and Lanier is Londo is not out there trying to like really take him under his wing and show him the world. He is out there to get Lanier to pay for Londo having a night on the town.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so because they set that up and we keep getting to check in with him, it created this fun dynamic between the main plot line and here's Londo's shenanigans going on. And because they set up well, it wasn't this jarring transition each time. So I really enjoyed that. I love Londo's character being around. I think I would have appreciated ever so slightly more time spent to the moral quandary of the death of the personality.
That almost deserved its own episode.
It did, and hey, Chief Cook, how you been, man? It's been a long time.
Oh, welcome, Chief Cook.
It really did deserve it. It really deserved to have more focus, because I feel like that was really what the question of the episode name was. What is the quality of mercy? And to dig into this, hey, we're not killing him. We're being merciful. We're wiping his mind. We're giving him a new personality so he has a chance to make more of his life. Almost the same thing they did with Suitor in Voyager. Where he was a complete sociopath, and by doing these exercises with I almost said Vulcan, with Tuvok, he's able to grow beyond that until he gets his grand sacrifice moment. You know, so you could have had kind of that aspect going on where he's basically this new person, and just because you give a new personality, what lies beneath? And they touched on that ever so slightly when Garibaldi and Talia were having their discussion. And she talked about what is the core of a person. And I would have loved to see them dive into that, where halfway through the episode, the mind wipe actually happens. And then by the end of the episode, he has a maybe a tell, and she's like, "Oh, so you end the episode going, well, is he going out there to kill more people? Has this act of mercy where instead of killing him, they're wiping his mind and giving a new personality? Is that going to lead to more deaths as his original personality re-exerts itself, or whatever baseline mental condition that's going on in his brain uh, starts to re-exert itself? Not even to mention the entire moral quandary about, is this anything but murder? I mean, you're killing the guy.
Right, you are.
When you wipe away his mind, he is dead. Is this really mercy? Would it have been more merciful to own up to it and say, yes, corporal punishment is atrocious and it's rough, but it is necessary. A functioning society needs a true punishment, and to keep people locked up for life, to wipe their minds forever, that's not compassion, that's not mercy, that's cruelty. Just have someone spend 30, 40, 50 years in a 10 by 10 cell. That's horrible. People weren't meant to live that way.
No.
So I mean, it's, yeah, in some ways it's worse than death, Joel. So I would have loved to see them really dig into what is mercy and when does mercy become cruel. Would have been great. That said, fun episode. Love the Londo bits.
Texas asked me earlier, "Are you familiar with the story of how this episode was written?" And
I'm not.
I, well, I am. And this episode was written basically as a uh, fever quest or something. J. Michael Straczynski, he was in the midst of a horrible, horrible flu when he wrote this episode, and he does not remember writing it at all.
So
And it generally came out well for him. He thought it was 90% good. He thought it could have been better.
did he mention anything where he said, "Oh, I wish I changed this aspect of the script"?
No, he really didn't. But he said he just basically it could have been written better. But he was generally happy with it. He wrote it at the same time as the two-part episode that we recently saw, Voice in the Wilderness.
Okay.
He was just coming out of the flu at the time that he wrote that, but he wrote this one first, and he doesn't remember writing it at all. He had the flu for like a week or so. It was just a horrible experience for him. As Texas said, he described himself as nearly delirious at times.
Maybe that was a poker scene. Or maybe that was when Lanier turned out to be a judo master.
He says, nice way to excuse a bad script.
I call it was a serviceable script.
And he said he was 90% happy with it anyway, Omni.
And I fully admit this. Like, anytime I do a critique video sort of thing back in the day, I fully admit that it is much easier for me to look at someone else's work and say, hey, you know what? Let me give some critique on this. Here's where you could have punched things up. Here's where you could have brought in your main theme a little bit better. As opposed to someone who has, 7 days to write out an hour-long episode that fits in with a larger narrative of whatever's going on in that season or series, and then get it out to the actors to memorize the script and produce a show. Like, I can't even imagine being under that level of pressure week after week after week.
And he wrote the complete season 4 and all but one episode of season 5.
That's so nice.
And a majority of season 3.
Thomas is waiting for me to tell which body part on Lando. It was the organ. We mentioned it. The eggplant emoji organ. I don't know what they call it in his culture. He spent quite a while whispering in Lanier's ear. Uh, the organ we'd call it is at most a 2-syllable word. Doesn't take that long to say. So I mean, I can't tell you what it was.
Well, you also have to go back to the statue. He has 6 of these.
Yeah.
So just think about that.
Yes, Texas. We saw the moment of realization. Yeah, I know what it means. Lanier know what it means. We all know what it means. Uh, I just don't know what it's called in his species. In his species.
I don't think you're going to get a straight answer, Thomas.
And Klingons only have 2. Ugh. Stop it. Well, cool. Any it's a little earlier than usual, but any final thoughts about the episode, Jeff?
That was a serviceable episode. It brought out Franklin a little bit and his character a bit more, and we got to see Londo being Londo, learn a little bit more about Lanier, and get some lore in as well. Some things that'll be important down the line. It was a good episode.
Yeah. So next week, actually before next week, let me just say, this past Saturday to Sunday, public service announcement sort of thing. Past Saturday to Sunday, I'm a youth leader at my church, and one of the girls in our youth group died suddenly in her sleep. No one knows why. Just went to bed Saturday night, alive, woke up Sunday morning, dead. My brother, same thing happened to him a couple months ago. And then just this afternoon, one of my old youth leaders when I was a kid, her daughter, or excuse me, her son's friend, excuse me, not her daughter, her son's friend, had the same thing, died in their sleep.
My goodness.
I do not know what's going on right now, guys. There seems to be some heart issues going on. I don't know globally, but at the very least America. If you're in a place to do so, I highly recommend you go get a heart calcification test done. This was a 5-minute thing for me to do. I went down to my doctor's office. I told him what was going on, family history of this sort of stuff. And he said, yeah, go, here's your recommendation, go do it. But they do like an MRI scan or a CAT scan, I forget which one, of your heart. And it just, it sees how calcified your heart is, and it makes sure the arteries are open. And I had 0 calcification. I had clean arteries. So I'm good. It seems, I don't know if there's something environmental. I don't know if there's something induced into people recently. There's a conspiracy theorist part of me that thinks it was, something everyone's been getting recently. But that's a conspiracy theory. I have no idea. I do know that it is unusual that this many young people are passing away. So do yourself a favor, go get it checked out. Or if you feel like there's anything weird going on with your heart, go get it checked out. I don't want to hear, in a couple weeks that, oh yeah, so-and-so died in their sleep. Yeah, something that was induced in 2021. Maybe. I think so, maybe. But it's one of those things where, I admit I don't understand social situations well. I have a hard time understanding why people feel something. I can understand that they are feeling an emotion, but I have a hard time understanding why people are feeling an emotion. But even I recognize it is grossly inappropriate to be like, so hey, your kid just died. Did they by any chance do something in 2021? So that's not something you go and ask, but I do think it's weird. So if you feel unusual, and you know what? Actually, there was a longtime family friend of mine who I found out at my brother's funeral. Her husband was having a hard time exercising. He'd go on short runs and just be out of breath. Went to several doctors. They're like, I don't know. Everything's fine. Finally got the scan thing done. And they're like, son, you are hours away from dying. basically. His arteries were, I think they're 90% blocked or something. Had to get a stent put in immediately, sort of situation. And he's alive today and exercising well. So if you guys are feeling weird, you're feeling funny, you got a little strange pain, go get it checked out, please. Stick around. That's all I'm saying. So yep. Public service announcement done. Yeah, no government wants to find out.
Well done.
Weird. Next week, hopefully on Monday night, is an episode called Chrysalis. Here's my prediction for it. We mentioned Chrysalis.
We did.
What episode was it?
I think it was the last episode.
Yeah, with Dolores, I want to say.
Right. Now, before you say anything else, it is the season finale.
It is. It really is. So it needs to be big. And I'm thinking, since he knew where he wanted the series to go, it is going to be a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of the episode. I do think this is going to focus primarily on Sinclair. And I think we're going to see him... with a name like Chrysalis, there needs to be a substantive change. Something big needs to happen. Now, okay, I admit this is a bit cheating on my part. I have seen people mention, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen people mentioning that Sinclair doesn't stick around forever. So, assuming I'm right on that, assuming that I've correctly interpreted what people's statements are, I am going to use that knowledge to say that this is literally his moment where he has a dramatic change happen in his life. Maybe he remembers what that hole in his head is, and as a result, he is, I don't want to say transformed. That's the literal thing that happens with the Chrysalis, but that's too much for me. I don't think we're gonna have a 2001 Space Odyssey moment where he turns into a space baby. I don't think we're gonna see him gaining some new psychic powers or something like that. I think it's just going to be that him having the hole in his head filled in as he remembers this is going to cause a dramatic shift in his perception of what's going on. Of course, but you know what? I say that, but in Babylon Squared, we also saw a future version of him.
We did.
So even if he was going to leave, and maybe that was people pranking me with fake spoilers, but even if he was going to leave, we know that.
No one would do that.
Yeah, no one would do that. So even if he was going to leave, we do know that something about him persists at some future plot line. So maybe instead what we get is maybe not the information filled in, but he gets access to time technology. No, I'm gonna have to stick with. I recant. I don't think he's going to leave. I think he'll stick around still. But I do think that we're going to have his perception of who he is radically changed as his memory gets filled in. And he's going to have this moment where he has to decide who are his true friends, who's the real enemy in this situation, because his knee-jerk reaction would definitely be the Mbari are my enemies. I think Delin his friendship that he's developed with her will make him realize that it's not all of them who are his enemies. It's not all the Mbari. That he has friends. At the same time, it's just because they're humans doesn't mean that they are his companions or his allies, I should say. Sorry, Omni, Dolores. Dolores.
I was wondering about that too. Who's Dylan?
So, uh, if Sinclair goes, I think that it will. If Sinclair's about to go, I should say, I think it's going to happen more maybe early next season. And I think that the big cliffhanger will be more of him going into perhaps a stasis situation where the memory maybe triggers some failsafe and he goes comatose. There we go. That's going to be it. Yeah, when is Dylan? Why is Dylan? No one knows. I certainly don't. Dolores.
Sounds like a good episode. Sounds like a good episode. Let's see if you're right.
Yeah, and good point, Texas. It's been a while since I've seen Kosh. But I've made my prediction. I'm going to stick by it. And next week, at the hour of scampering, I certainly hope we will have our usual stream. As always, guys, what I try and do around 9 a.m. if I'm working from home that day and I have access to YouTube and can set it up around 9 a.m. I will post the upcoming stream. So if you don't see the stream, by the end of the day, it's not happening. So if we are going to stream, I'll schedule it well ahead of time. And if you don't see it early Monday, sorry, stuff has come up, and we will certainly do it Tuesday instead, provided nothing else goes crazy.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and don't worry, we will not have to wait a whole year to find out. We will only have to wait at most 2 weeks, because we might do a recap episode. We'll see. I need to see how the season ends to know if, this is a perfect time to take a week and do a recap episode, or if this is something where you go, you know what? We got a best of both worlds situations going on. We are absolutely watching the conclusion, and then we can do a recap. So we will play that by ear. And as always, thank you for joining us tonight. Oh, did you freeze, Jeff?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.